Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the editor and co-host of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to us. We are where podcasts can be found in the infinite sea of podcast websites. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wide, wild world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And we've got our Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hola, yo soy Bree.
And this episode is going to be a good one. We've got our main topic is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, and of course, by extension, the series, and also the highly anticipated sequel to The Legend of Hei, The Legend of Hei II. But first, something landed on our desk last week that we had to talk about. So, Helluva Boss has finally made its premiere on Prime Video, and interestingly enough, the pilot, there's a new version of the pilot, and it's different enough that we can talk about it. So, Cameron, your thoughts?
I'd rather we find another excuse to talk about K-pop demon hunters.
Honestly, I don't blame you.
No, it's... The thing that popped up about this was the fact that instead of having the old YouTube pilot that has been on the site for, 5 years now?
At least.
It got a brand new reshoot, redone edition where it's like those movies that hit the festival scene and then they do really good, but then some distributors and producers are like, well, why didn't you do this? And it's like, because we had no money left. And then they're like, okay, let's redo this part. Like that Elijah Wood's dark comedy horror movie, Cooties, had an entirely different ending compared to the one that we all know about now. Same with the upcoming Chris Stuckman produced Shelby Oaks, where it had an entirely different ending, where everyone was like, well, that was pretty good, but the ending was kind of whatever. And then it's like, well, yeah, I had no money left. We couldn't do anything fancier. And then Neon was like, how much do you need? And by the time we're recording this, Fantastic Fest is happening, and I don't know if I'm going to go see that or not. But anyway, so what we have with Helluva Boss Mission Zero is a slight retelling of the original pilot, where Blitz and his crew are starting their own assassination agency, and they essentially, part of the plot is, how can we keep the Grimoire with us while not entirely pissing off Stolas, a hierarchy of hell and such? Well, I think it's interesting. It doesn't change enough to say that, like, the original pilot's not worth checking out. The only major thing that they change outside of, honestly, much better animation quality and fancier production values is the fact that the little kid accident victim is not in the plot at all. They, I guess, reference it with the whole, like, no, we're not killing kids. No, fuck them.
I think I actually saw him. They had it in the pilot for like a couple of frames that it's very blink and you'll miss that.
Okay, because otherwise it's just more focused, I guess. And, well, Bree, what was your takeaway from this? Because otherwise it's just kind of more of the same. Though I will say, seeing the Helluva Boss Season 2 trailer, which I know a lot of people are excited for it.
You mean
I
has been,
understand.
right?
And here I was thinking I was going to have the issue of Infinity Castle and Infinity Train mixed up. No, when I saw the Has Been Hotel trailer for Season 2, I was just kind of like, man, remember when this was about a hotel?
Yeah.
And now with this pilot, it's like, oh, you remember they used to have a killing agency. Oh, no, that's not really the case either now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you and I agree on a lot of the same things. I don't hate that this exists. I think it's fine. I was talking with another cohort of mine, and we kind of both agreed that while this is definitely more polished, it fixes a lot of the continuity and story errors, like having like the same voice actors, having a more consistent, even tone. I just feel like it misses like that charm that the pilot had, which had, like, its own, like, sort of, like, offbeat weirdness to it, and then I don't wanna go too much on a tangent, but and this is nothing against to the new Helluva Boss pilot. I think on its level, it's fine. I feel like if this is like, okay, you wanna get someone into Helluva Boss, the first time and you wanna watch everything in canon chronological order, fine. Go nuts. There's nothing about it that offends me, it's short and sweet, it's just kinda whatever. The thing that kinda concerns me more is this ongoing trend that I've noticed a lot recently, specifically, like, with Mythic Quest, where a lot of these streamers and studios, they will make, like, alternate versions or they'll change things in the final version after the fact so that you will have, like, multiple versions of, like, the same story, and, I mean, on one hand, I could see why, as a filmmaker, you like to have that option. My concern is more like the integrity of storytelling. Like, if we're not committed to our stories, then, like, what's the point of it? And I just think that's a very slippery slope. But my more deep pressing concern is the potential, like, Pandora's box opening potentially to censorship. Because if, oh, it's something that we don't like story-wise, like, oh, if here's a queer character or here's a storyline that can just be booped, snapped away.
That is the slippery slope that we very much could be heading towards if they're like fully replacing elements of the story and not letting you watch like any of the original. This isn't the same thing as, you know, say a director who puts out like a director's cut versus like the studio version. This is a bit more concerning.
I mean, I do find it funny that we're having this deeply philosophical, moral quandary conversation about a horny imp show, but I understand. Because, yeah, I assume the only thing keeping this from going further with something like animation is the fact that it's going to cost possibly more time and money to do exactly this instead of
Yeah.
everything else. Because, yeah, I do agree. The charm of the original quirky underdog assassination agency is very much lost on this one because it does come off like Vivian was like, oh, so many people like to gritch and groan and complain about how my stories don't actually match up as well, like their BoJack Horsemen's and their Adventure Times and whatever. Well, here's this, but also like, how much money are they willing to throw down for animation? It's like the industry itself hates that it has animation because it's so time consuming and so much money gets put into it. It doesn't need to, mind you, but Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know if this is just going to be a one time thing. I know Mythic Quest had to do that because they got canceled before the final episode got aired. I feel like it's a wait and see. I mean, I'd rather it not happen, but we'll have to see.
I'm
I'm very curious to know
Yeah.
where this is going to go. Like, or if this goes anywhere at all, because with Hollywood, it's like they want it here, they want it now. And even like anime do this, where the infamous 2016 Berserk continuation had some of the most infamously ugly animation around. And then during its Blu-ray release, they basically revamped everything to make it look better. And I understand some studios do this. And yes, it's definitely an anime situational thing that, it's its own rabbit hole. We could obviously go
Oh,
down.
yeah, for sure. But, like, my other thing too, and this is, like, my other big point. I mean, again, this was only like 13 minutes. Like, it's not, just to clarify, this is not like a carbon one like copy of like the pilots. Like, there's like, it's genuinely a different story. They'll repeat like some jokes, but this is definitely like, okay, this is the more consistent version in line with our show. Which, fine, whatever. Why did they do it for this and not Has Been Hotel? The one that actually needed that.
That is a very good question. Especially because A, Has Been Hotel like blew up in the ratings on Prime Video. And B, people who are fans of Helluva Boss liked the scrappier energy of that pilot.
Yeah, now that that's gone, it's like, okay, that makes it less interesting to see that, oh, now they were always like this. And I will say some of the added jokes, it's like, I get that it's a small team crafting these things, but y'all need to have a better joke writer. Like, how obvious were the three bad guys where it's just like, we're evil and we have to constantly say that. Yeah, Has Been Hotel needed it more because I know some people are going to argue that, well, we don't know what the original show was going to be after the pilot, but it's not really about the god dang hotel. It's another generic heaven versus hell thing. All that stuff. We've seen that nonsense before, which I was like, I was so tired and just felt nothing with that new trailer. If it didn't bring in views, I don't know if I would have wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Like, and I said the same thing. I was like, okay, that's definitely Has Been Hotel season 2. Cool, I guess.
It's like, sure, maybe they'll put a little more focus on the hotel, but the hotel, that was the problem with the first season. The hotel was secondary, or not even secondary. It was like third or fourth or fifth down the line.
You know what, like, the true problem of Has Been Hotel is that as a show, it just seems to be in a constant state of identity crisis.
Yeah, pretty much what it is.
I mean, and I hate to keep comparing and contrasting the two, but the Amazing Digital Circus never had this issue. Like, it was straight from the get-go what it wanted to be. And same with the Gaslight District and some of the other pilots like Monkey Wrench and such. By the way, take a shot. We're going to talk about saying support Monkey Wrench.
Woo!
But my point is, as important as Has Been Hotel and Helluva Boss have been, others have found the ways to do it better. Not to say that it'll always succeed or get past the one pilot thing, but you know what? I like the others better, and I'm not going to regret saying that. So, but you know, now it's kind of like whatever. They're both companies, Spindlehorse and Glitch, are on Prime and such. So,
Yeah, it's like a moot point.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just really what we wanted to talk about here. Just kind of open up with this before we get into the real nitty gritty of Demon Slayer, because we're now.
Which is the shocker that our least amount of grapes would be on Helluva Boss. That's the plot twist.
I mean, that's always the thing with that freaking show. Even though we can rave and like complain and criticize respectfully, of course, that show, like Vivi's work, it's like at the end of the day, it's just they're both fine.
Yeah, no, Vivian Medrano's not the devil. It's fine. Really, it's just fine.
Like, it just has story structure issues that we've seen her expand upon and talk about, like, the inspirations and such. And then it's just like, okay, well, that's why the show's like this, I guess. But, you know, whatever. She's successful. Congrats on her getting her indie show, like, to stardom and whatever. So, but let's talk about Demon Slayer, because we haven't talked about Demon Slayer since 2021 when Mugen Train came out, and Mike and I forgot the other guy's name. We did an episode. Yeah. Which I wonder what he thinks about this whole franchise now. And I was very curious because there was always this trend of Demon Slayer would get really positive word of mouth because of its action sequences. But there's a problem with that. it was always getting positive word of mouth because of its action sequences, but that's all it ever got. So I was just wondering if anime or animation fans were just being like, "Ooh, pretty colors," and well, to take the line from the Swan Princess, the first one, not the millions of direct-to-video
They don't
sequels.
exist.
What else is there to Demon Slayer that other shonen shows haven't done better since or before? And I feel a little bad mouthing it because I know a lot of people love Demon Slayer. It's like an ideal gateway entry to the world of anime and shonen anime shows. It is also one of those shows like My Hero Academia, where, and I think maybe to some extent Fire Force, where it has one foot in the past and one foot in the future with how it tells its story.
Yeah.
That's entirely accurate. But that's what makes it a good gateway series for people who are either just getting into anime for the first time or just taking the medium seriously for the first time. To some extent, you have to credit Mugen Train for bringing on even more people onto the franchise.
On the literal hype train.
Yes, exactly.
If the pandemic helped things, it was Mugen Train doing stupid amounts of money at the box office that helped really propel anime more into the mainstream. I know people will say it was like Full Metal Alchemist, One Piece, Naruto.
Those
Like, they
weren't
are. They're-
unsuccessful, but
Right,
they
but
were...
not to this.
Yeah.
And it helps that Mugen Train only had one season to prep for. But even then, you could technically watch it and not have to worry about plot. You can't do that with Infinity Castle. But Mike, what are your thoughts overall about Demon Slayer up until Infinity Castle, which we'll get to in a moment?
I like the show. The things that we talked about last time, UFO Table's gorgeous animation, music's really good. The characters are very likable, especially Inosuke, who is the best character. The only problem I have with the show is it just falls into a formula with each arc where they got to do the investigating to hunt down the demons. And then once the villain is defeated, that's when we get all of their backstory.
The biggest problem with Demon Slayer is its rigid, repetitive storytelling. And it's really a crutch that the show hangs its story on, because when it's not really not treating its female characters well, we'll get into that. And it's pretty much, okay, we're coming back from a hard mission. Mugen Train kicked our butts. We lost to Hashira. Wait a minute, who's this new Hashira? Oh, we're going on another mission. And then 2 or so high-ranked demons appear. They die. Traumatic backstory for the demons and why they became demons. And maybe a Hashira survives or barely survives or dies. Which, so far, until we get into Infinity Castle, only one died. And I understand that's like to set up the stakes. Kill the most likable character on the show, and then let the other characters who are maybe not as interesting or as complex sit on the fact that, oh, death is a very real thing. These demons are incredibly strong. And then, oh, just next mission and such. And very little character development happens. Even with the new Hashira, they don't expand upon their backstories enough to really feel impactful. It's like this person was an artist first and then a storyteller second, like Vivian. And that's been really frustrating to go through the Entertainment District arc, then the Swordsmith Village arc, and then the Hashira training arc, where they all follow the same plot, except for the Swordsmith Village arc takes out Zenitsu and Inosuke to give us the Zeno Robinson voice Hashira in training character, and then Mitsuri, the one of two female Hashiras who happens to have the ditzy, like, airhead character personality traits. And it's been really disappointing, especially the fact that Tanjiro is supposed to be our main character, and yet he is the least interesting part about this show. And it doesn't help.
He's just a wholesome good boy.
Yeah, that's all that he is. There's nothing else to him. At the very least, stuff like with Attack on Titan, they added some kind of revenge element to him. And yet there is a revenge element to Tanjiro. But Tanjiro is, Bree, what did you say? Describe him as? Like,
too nice. And also the kind of counteract with, like, Eren. Like, if you read the manga, like, very clear on, they make it apparent that Eren is fucking nuts. So, like, the ending is just an inevitability.
It's just the fact that, like, yes, the villains from the Entertainment District arc were interesting, even though every villain in this show has, with the exception of a few, the same backstory. Oh, my life sucked. Oh, I got turned into a demon. Now I'm strong.
Yeah, my parents, like, didn't understand me, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Mind you, I'm taking this off from just the movie and, like, the 1 or 2 episodes of Demon Slayer that I've watched. And here's, like, my thing, because I don't want to get, like, too into this, but I'm just going to put in verbatim what I texted a friend. So I will say some nice things. The compositors on the show are fucking Olympians. The animation upgrades are very apparent. Like, this is not TV animation. Like, there is some stuff where I swear to God, they are going 24 frames a second. It is gorgeous. Like, the animation in this instance is not overhyped. The camera work's well done. Like, everything on a technical level of this movie is very, very good. And that's kind of the thing. Like, it wants to be a movie so bad, but it just feels like one long episode or like a season of TV shows. And it's like, okay, like, once you get past the spectacle, is this what Demon Slayer has always been? Is this it?
That's why, like, first of all, the production pipeline for Demon Slayer is great because they were able to evolve action anime by having a groundwork of CGI, like, really simplistic bodies to do the posing and animation stuff with. And then they would, from what I recall, trace over the CGI with the 2D animation, with the CGI backgrounds and such. So that's why the 2D animation, which, you know, they're still having to do by hand, is so dynamic, more so than most, where, like, yeah, sure, people are saying now that Naruto and One Piece have incredible animation in their action, but that took, like, forever for them to get to that point. For studios to be like, oh, wait a minute. You mean if we took a little more time, put a little more talent onto these things, and maybe a little more money to pay our animators that we're not paying enough, we could actually do more? Gee, what a novel concept. But that's really it, because otherwise, like, shout out to Zenitsu, because in the movie Infinity Castle, he gets one of the most last-minute story arcs that I've seen, because from what I recall, he goes through no character arc until the very end of the Hashira training arc, and then into the movie. And to make up for all that, the fact that they've basically done nothing with the character, they give him this last second, like, oh, I am the co-successor to the lightning breathing style, but the other co-successor got himself turned into a demon, and that's who I'm going to fight. When we jump into the movie, instead of how Mugen Train was built from the ground up as a movie, though now I'm kind of curious to see if the movie actually holds up compared to the 6 episodes that they made out of the of Mugen Train. And they were like, okay, you know what? Instead of having to craft Infinity Castle as 3 super long movies, as like for 6 hours of content or whatever, we're going to make a bunch of episodes and shove them together like compilation movies that come out during the different random anime seasonal drops.
It almost kind of sounds like they want the size and the scale and the scope of a movie, but not the
Yeah.
structure.
Like, honestly, like, again, I rather like this movie, but the pacing and structure really kills it from me liking it more. Like, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. Realistically, I can't give this higher than a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that's how
fair.
much I would have given it also. Like, the action is bonkers. Like, some of the best action in animation that you will find. But man, does it feel like a bunch of episodes stitched together. And it feels even more cynical, like cynically made, because they want the stupid amount of money they're going to make with each of the 3 movies. Oh, hell, who knows if they're just going to stick to 3 movies, since they saw Mappa and the Attack on Titan production committee milk the ever living daylights out of the last season.
Oh, God.
And it's like they made an entire season, but then are cramming it into 3 movies. And it's hard not to feel that with this one, especially when, like, Bree told us, you can tell where
Like,
the
you can
breaks
tell
are,
where the
it's the
ET
middle
is
of the
about to play.
and it just doesn't feel like a movie. It really does not have the structure, the pacing until the last 45 minutes. But really, it picks up right where the Hashira training arc ends, where they're about to really try to take down the big bad guy. And then the big bad guy's like, well, now it's time to go through the Infinity Puzzle Castle. Bye. And everyone is falling through like air, seeing all the different castle pieces and such. Why they have to take out Inosuke, my man? Come on. He is like one of the last interesting characters of Demon Slayer, and you barely see the little pig mask wearing man. It really doesn't help with how Demon Slayer as a whole is structured with its story, where even you're supposed to meet the new Hashira characters in like the Swordsmith Village arc. The Mist Hashira takes up so much of the runtime that you kind of forget that the love Hashira, Mitsuri, is in the show at all. And even then, she doesn't even get to do like a final kill because only men can kill the demons in this show, even though it's not technically true. The bug Hashira did kill a demon early on in the show's run. But come on. It's crappy how it's like you introduce her as this big deal, like Hashira, and she's cool with that sword whip and whatever, but she doesn't get to do the final kill. It goes to Tanjiro again. And then with this movie, like, I don't want to say the creator's misogynistic, and I think part of this is possibly from the higher up editing process from Shonen Jump, or maybe just the creator didn't really think a lot of this through. Demon Slayer sort of maybe hates its female characters. I mean, I'm not going to say it's downright misogynistic or indirectly misogynistic, but the way that the women are written in this show is very old school shonen in a bad way.
And because I don't want this to be like a complete compare and contrast, but I just want to like reference Bleach with like its female characters. Mind you, Bleach came out almost 25 years ago. And if you want to do something like even more recent, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, like they don't really have these problems. It's just, oh, they're cool, and that's it.
Yeah, the Demon Slayer's biggest issue with its characters is that there's not a whole lot to them until the story needs to actually start introducing some backstory about what drives our characters. And their backstories are all equally uneven, and some of them are not interesting characters. Mitsuri's whole thing is she wants to meet a man for, and that's why she joined the Hashira, because she was scorned because men were like, in our past were like, oh, your hair color is weird, you are not dressed modestly, and you eat a lot. And it's like, it's so weird to hear that in a show where, like, unless it's like when anime are like, oh, I'm not that good looking. And it's like,
Yeah, I know.
what? Like, unless someone made you like a major, like, literal uggo in an anime, nobody is at least below a 7.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, I don't know where that plot was going, but that sucks. While like the guys get to have all these super dramatic or trauma filled backstories. Like one of the women characters does get a traumatic backstory that's tied to a villain that you see in Infinity Castle. But it's also like she's the only one. While Mitsuri, it's like, I was scorned by past potential husbands because they apparently didn't like a hot sword wielding woman. Like, I don't know, man. It's 2025. Ask what guys are into these days. And it's just like, so when we get into the Infinity Castle part, outside of Zenitsu's last minute, oh shit, we needed to give him a fully completed arc because we never did that in the show, and we completely kicked him out of the story for a good season. The more serious female Hashira character is the only one to die among the Hashira that are in the castle. All because of plot stuff.
And I remember I said this to you because in my head I was thinking, I'm like, oh, this is a shonen thing. Yeah, we heard bones and neck snaps. You'll be fine. And then it's like, oh no, wait, she's actually dead. Well, shit, that was underwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, I would feel sadder about that, and the potential deadly outcome of whatever's going to happen with the new, I guess, Flower Hashira. I forgot. Like, this show's not very good at making you remember character names unless they're just told to you over and over and over again.
Over again later, because I have thoughts.
Oh god. Yeah, we'll talk about that soon with the dialogue in this movie. So, all the guys get to look cool, or they get to kill a Hashira. Zenitsu kind of gets the short end of the stick of getting one of the last higher ranked, weak, rank 6 demons, who again never showed up in the show until this point. Which makes me again feel like the author was like, wait, we're in the home stretch and nobody has really said what Zenitsu's backstory is. And I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, but it's also like, it stands out because not much else stands out because it's all build up for 2 more movies. And I know some people are going to be like, well, read the manga then. And it's like, well, I don't want to read right now. I want to see the flashy action sequences. And it's not like the manga is going to change my mind, since the manga is probably already like that also. So, like, it's not like whatever happened to the Bleach adaptation that Brie, you were telling us about, with what they did to like Orihime and
yeah,
Rukia.
Orihime is a lot worse. Not getting into it, but like Orihime's backstory. Oh, I was a victim of child abuse because my mother was a prostitute and my father was an alcoholic too. My parents left us, which is, yeah.
Okay.
But that's a rant for another day.
I know, one day we will talk about Bleach, but I do not know when that's ever going to be with how many episodes
that is a
are
deep
out,
dive.
so.
Like, you gotta strap the hell in for that one.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm a little disappointed with the fact that one of the Hashira dies so quickly, all because she just happened to run into one of the top 3 strongest demons, which is like, okay, they give her a little bit of backstory set up, but golly, does this movie really love its flashbacks, because you get one for the number 2 demon who was in charge of like when he was a kid, grew up to like in a cult like family. The bug Hashira is connected with this demon because that the demon killed her mentor. And then it's like, okay, whatever. Happens. And then I will say though, shout out to the fact that the obvious red shirt slayers are not actually just getting killed left and right on the spot. Because I felt like it could have been so easy just to put a bunch of Star Trek red shirts into the mix just so they can get killed by the demon.
I do appreciate them not going for complete low-hanging fruit in that regard.
It's just funny with how, like, you're just expecting that. Like, where it's like watching Attack on Titan where anyone could die at any moment. Technically. Here, you're just expecting the red shirts or the grunts sort of and such to die. And then they're like, oh, you guys actually know how to use a sword. You just didn't do that throughout the last season. Really, what the main focus of this movie is, because we got to talk about, well, maybe before we talk about this, with the issues that we have with the story structure are not just because of the story. Bree, I want you to take over about this because this is your major takeaway that you've had about watching this movie.
So I'll be honest, I had to pause a couple of times, and I was actually talking with a colleague of mine because I was watching this. I was like, am I insane? Like, so there was like lines where they were repeating almost the exact same thing in dialogue, like almost in verbatim. Like they would say one thing, like, for example, Tanjiro was talking about like his scent ability, and then like 3 lines later, something about his scent or the invisible world my father saw, or whatever the hell they're saying. And I'm like, wow, this is structured so weird. Why are they repeating the same lines of dialogue? So when you screenwrite, you genuinely like don't want to do that. So I'm like, that's weird. But talking with a colleague, one of the reasons that might be is because in the Japanese language, saying the same thing like over and over again isn't like the weird thing. Like if you would say it here, it's like, dude, like I already have this information. Why are you telling me this again? And through like a variety of reasons, they might have wanted to stay closer to that. But the problem is that sometimes when you stay a little too close, the way that English people speak and Japanese people speak are different. And just I like at a fundamental level, like if you're talking like sentence structure or even like the way our mouths move, you sometimes will get a very literal translation. And that's not always a good thing for localization. And I feel like localization is like a 4-letter evil word that whenever you hear localization in anime, all you think of is like, Sanji's lollipops or Pokemon jelly donuts. And that's not really what localization is supposed to be.
We've obviously come a long way since the era of 4Kids, but just because you're translating from, Japanese to English doesn't necessarily mean you have to go completely literal. I think, and this is why I do not envy writers who have to do the localizations, because like you really got to find that nice balance between translating from one language to another, but still making it the dialogue sound natural,
and like that's my thing. It's just so much of this dialogue feels so unnatural. And I'm not just talking about like, big like anime ass sounding lines of his 1,000-year quest for a vessel that can resist the sun will be no more. Or like the ridiculous thing that they were saying about like the wheels of time and the clock. I mean, or like the self monologues. Like that's just like anime like bullshit. It's like whatever, fine. Not my favorite thing, but it's part of the package sometimes, and that's just something you have to deal with.
Well, yeah, because I mean, there was always that infamous story about Studio Kara when they were re-releasing the original Evangelion franchise. They wanted, like, Kara, like Studio Kara and I think Anno were, like the story goes, was that they were not very happy about a lot of the translation decisions, even though it made for a product that people really still gravitated towards. But then it's like, oh, you kind of took out some parts that, like, let's just say they toned down the queer aspects of Evangelion at points, which, not to say that the new version doesn't keep a few of those elements in, but, you know, it's not what the people remember. So it just didn't look good on Kara to be like, oh, we don't want this. Like, for some reason, sometimes some studios just hate the ADV dub of certain shows and such. Like, and I get it. ADV did not make the best dubs around, but when they were solid, they were pretty solid. The dialogue got very repetitive. I don't think it got as bad as I think you saw it as, Brie, but I could have just been completely, like, I was a little bored watching this movie, and that sounds weird with all this flashy, dynamic action, but when it's paced like just part one, and it's weird because I never remember having this issue with Lord of the Rings or like we're making 3 movies on top of each other, like, situation here. And I don't know why Infinity Castle had to deal with this because, well, let's talk about the, I guess, casting elephant in the room, where one of the big major press releases about Infinity Castle Part 1 was the fact that through one means or another, they got Channing Tatum into the cast. I don't quite know, or outside of PR speak, where they got this. Like, where they came to this. Maybe because Demon Slayer is super popular, and, you know, as much as some weird anime fans want to gatekeep the heck out of it, a lot of celebrities like anime. There's nothing you can do about that.
Not only celebrities as in movie stars, but like athletes,
I mean,
wrestlers.
have you ever? Yeah, like Megan Thee Stallion's cosplays are amazing.
Or the fact that, like, one of her music videos had like a huge reference and homage to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Because originally, I think the line was, "I like girls with butts like Jennifer Lawrence," and then someone changed it to, "I like butts like Megan Thee Stallion," and that meme just ran wild.
Anime has gone into the mainstream. We're not going back on that. Well, depending on how all these freaking tariffs and companies not wanting to ship to the US are doing now, but
yeah, we might get.
We'll see how that goes. And there's also the can of worms of the fact that so many of these amazing and talented voice actors are probably not getting paid as much as Channing Tatum getting into the movie. Which, if this was like a Studio Ghibli kind of production, I understand why they get celebrities. But with the Neza to Michelle Yeoh situation, it is weird to see, out of all these amazing, wonderful voice actors, and then there's Channing Tatum in the voice cast credits. And to be fair, because the voice direction is really, really good with like Ezra Wise, Lucian Dodge, and Steve Staley, who I think were the ones behind the voice directing, Channing Tatum does sound good. He plays a character that is important to Akaza's backstory, named Kizo. And I will say, whatever like writing problems, pacing problems that are in this movie, Akaza is the main character of this story.
This movie is actually subtitled Akaza's Return. So, yeah, of course he's going to play a major role in at least a good chunk of this story.
I still remember when we were watching Mugen Train, we were like, yeah, they beat the bad guy. A little underwhelming because he wasn't that interesting, or powerful. But cool, we did it. Why is their boss music still playing? And And then Akaza comes out of nowhere. It's like, boom, killed one of your Hashira. Bye. And his backstory is like one of the few that actually gets delved into and is really good. Like everything with Akaza, Lucian Dodge's performance, and his interactions with Rebecca Wong and Channing Tatum are great. It just, this is a 2-hour movie and you're told that all this great stuff is in the last 45 minutes.
The last 45 minutes is when it feels like an actual movie.
And because it takes its time, it's paced very well. The Akaza's backstory is extremely traumatic and compelling, which is something that this show has a huge issue with, where Tanjiro becomes like the blandest character, where everyone else has more drive and gumption to them. Akaza's fight is great, and it's very traumatic and satisfying with how it ends, with Akaza basically coming to terms that he can't, like, no matter how hard he tries, his biggest enemy is himself. And it works really well. Again, great performances throughout this whole show and movie. But then it ends and it's like, oh,
I guess I'm leaving now.
like set up for movie 2. So we'll get to that. And listen, I understand, and I'm glad that this is making a stupid amount of money at the box office. I am glad anime and animation fans are putting their money where their mouth is and are seeing this movie. It is still deeply frustrating that it seems like anytime I try to talk to people about Demon Slayer, no one wants to bring up the faults with the story. I'm not telling y'all that you can't like this show anymore. We're not telling you that. I still had a good time, warts and all, with this movie. But nobody wants to talk about the story issues or the fact that someone like Nezuko, who is supposed to be super important to the big bad guy's plan because she can survive sunlight even though she has demon blood in her, it's not in the movie a whole lot. She's there for like 1 second
and breathing,
whimpering in
the corner,
possible pain. Another reason why we think the female characters are treated badly in this franchise. So it's like, it's okay to talk about the bad parts of a show or a movie or a franchise that's how these things get better. There's a reason why you don't hear this with Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, or Dandadan. There's a reason why, like, Fire Force, My Hero Academia, and Demon Slayer are still getting, like, heavily criticized for some of their story decision making and how they handle certain characters. As good as Midoriya, Todoroki, and Bakugo are as characters, it sucks that everyone else gets shoved to the sideline in My Hero Academia, especially with stuff like the third movie. Like, ugh. But yeah, with these newer shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Dandan, they're not running into the same issues that old shonen shows used to. And I love, like, the old ones like One Piece, Dragon Ball, and whatever. It's just the fact that these new shows have better stories or are more compelling with their characters.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly just because as like our generation has gotten older, like, just storytelling in general has evolved in ways that maybe we just weren't there in the 90s and early 2000s.
It's deeply frustrating because otherwise, I see why people are saying go see this movie. It's a visual wonder to see on the big screen. Even when they do, like, the downtime backstory thing, it doesn't falter with its visual quality. The worst thing is that Inosuke is not in the movie a whole lot, so that's, brings us down to an automatic F, baby. No, I'm kidding. But, like, it's fine. It's good. It's entertaining. But that's really it. And unless you're really into the franchise,
like,
you're not going to get much out of
like,
this movie.
Compelling female, like, characters, like, you're really not going to find it here because, like, and this is maybe a little bit of a gross ever generalization, but it's like the Doofenshmirtz mean, like 2 female characters got fridged. Like, it's weird that it's happened twice. Like, I have 2 nickels. And look, I will be honest, like, my exposure to Demon Slayer is minimal at best, but I'm looking this from as unbiased as a standpoint as possible. Nezuko, I kind of feel like, is like the nexus point of everything that is wrong with Demon Slayer as a series, because Nezuko exists to be cute. Nothing else. She is just like an object for her brother's motivations. She is there to be cute and adorable, and that's it. Like, she's literally, stand there and be pretty, don't speak.
Until she has to fight, in which case she becomes like a feral killing machine.
That's the thing, again, y'all. Like, it's okay to think Nezuko is cute and all that stuff, but when she's in a box for a mass majority of the runtime for every season, that's not great character writing. It's like someone was forced to shove a female character into the story to drive the male's plot. Or it's like what you said about Bleach, where the creator is like, yeah, I really like this Rukia character. She's really cool. I want to make a show about her. And the shonen editors were like, but that's a girl. Oh, God. It's just anime is going to anime sometimes. So I still had a good time. Demon Slayer is starting to show its foundational issues. And I'm not going to be happy to hear, like, once these 3 movies come out, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to make an official final season out of the movies.
Yeah,
and it's just
that's
what's
cute
the point?
You think they're going to wait till all 3 movies are done?
Or at least wait until the second movie's
No,
out.
but, like, here's, like, my closing thoughts is that Demon Slayer has a lot of good ideas, but it just doesn't really want to go into uncharted territory. And I think for me personally, a lot of it is me coming to the realization that this is a show and comic that is geared to 8 to 14-year-olds. I have not been that demographic in a while. And that's kind of a reason why I fell out of reading, like, a lot of Shonen Jump stuff, especially the stuff that's, like, in the main magazine. And I feel like if you're looking for, like, super deep storytelling, you're not really going to find too much of that here. Are you going to find probably some of the most visually gorgeous animation and fight scenes that you've seen all year with really surprisingly decent music? Yes, you will find that. But if you're looking for, like, deep character building moments, conflict beyond, like, oh, my anime fight power is bigger than yours, but wait, this is what it is. This is what it says what it is. It knows what it is. Don't expect anything different. And if you like that, that's fine. That's great for you. But I personally just kind of need a little bit more.
No, I mean, that's why so many times Mike and I are just like, when we go through the seasonal anime drops, it's like, half of these are just fine and whatever. They don't offer much. We're going to forget about them once we move on to the next season. Nobody's going to talk about them unless they miraculously get a second season, which will be shocking for some of these ones going out. But there's a reason why Gachi Akuta, who the manga author, she was a apprentice to the guy who made Chainsaw Man. There's a reason why Gachi Akuta is getting so much praise now as a shonen action series, where Demon Slayer is just going to be stuck in this hole of super pretty animation, not much else. Except for maybe an occasional pretty solid story beat here and there.
All that being said, if you are a Demon Slayer fan, A, you've probably seen the movie like a couple times already, and B, the last 45 minutes are absolutely worth it, because I think I can say at this point, Akaza is one of the best villains of the series.
Especially with the fact that until we figure out a little more otherwise, Doma and Muzan Kibutsuji are not the most compelling characters, or Nakame, are not really leaving a lasting impression. So, gosh. We're not going to end things on just that. We're going to talk about The Legend of Hei II, the sequel to the smash hit Chinese animated feature from 2020, and which, this sequel also became one of many 2D animated features and just animated features in general that China has been putting out this year and has been making so much money at the box office. Like there was Neza 2 that came out and made a stupid amount of money, like a really, really, really ridiculously stupid amount of money. And then The Legend of Hei 2 did so well that they're extending the theatrical release window into October from when
cool.
when this was released. And then another take on the Monkey King, Nobody, is becoming a sleeper hit in the box office scene, which I'm sure G Kids or some company is looking at it right now being like, okay, can we get this? We'll just have to see if who picks up that movie. I wouldn't be shocked if it's G Kids or Neon, but so let's talk about The Legend of Hei II, where we pick up from the last movie where our little cat human spirit Hei is living his life with his mentor from the first movie. And it's going pretty well. He's training, becoming stronger, living a good life, having some. I don't know if it's McDonald's because it looks like McDonald's, but so it's funny because it's one of the great things about that opening area of the movie where you see him training, but he's also getting to live life as a kid, which is not always a given with these movies to let kids be kids instead of just instant murder machines like a lot of these franchises like to do and what have you. So, but what happens is that Hei's mentor, Wuxian, gets accused of murdering a temple of spirits to take a certain power from there and some special wood that is made to kill spirits. And it is up to Hei along with Luye, Luye, who was a previous mentor to Wuxian, to essentially solve the murder case and such. It basically turns into The Fugitive, but with kung fu.
Which is honestly a pretty cool structure for the story, which honestly goes much bigger in scope than the first one.
The first movie's scale was small, though it hinted at something bigger where the villains were essentially environmental terrorists who wanted the powers of stronger spirits to basically kill all the humans. But it was really a conflict of story between Wuxian, Hei, and the main villain. Here, it's pretty much a story about someone is accusing Wuxian of killing.
Yeah, it's a pure genocide.
Which, that opening sequence is brutal to watch. And even though it's not gonna go all late 80s, early 90s anime OVA gory on it, it's still characters getting shot left and right. It is kind of traumatizing a little. Then it turns into a mystery thriller where Juye is figuring out who's connected to all of this. And I'm so happy that Hei 2 does not try to retread the original movie with the chemistry between Hei and Juye. But it could have been really easy to because she's very stoic, pain in the neck, doesn't really have time to go get ice cream, and it's good stuff. It's basically, who is this person who wants to cause so much chaos and disarray between humans and spirits to want to pretty much kill one another and essentially cause the humans to launch nukes at the spirits? It's a lot. They continuously build up the world and the lore of the characters that we see. That we even see Neza show up, or in this movie, they're called Naza. Which I'm sure, because it's like, okay, we're going to be the first project to have Neza on screen.
Dang it.
Oh, shit. It's like, which I do love that a third of the plot is just Wuxian and Neza playing video games.
That I found pretty fun. Hanging out, playing games.
And one of the secondary characters from the first movie comes in and it's like, what are y'all doing? And then later on, they're also playing video games too.
The one thing that kind of caught me is just how clean everything looked. Like obviously there's like some anime influences, but it's clearly like not anime. Yeah, you know what? Aesthetically, this reminded me a lot of. It reminded me a lot of Studio Mir's work on The Legend of Korra.
And it's funny that we're talking about two animated films that also combine 2D animation with CGI backgrounds, so they can have much more dynamic action. I mean, that was one of the biggest praises that we had for the first movie was there's a fight on a train in the first movie that is so incredible that Mike and I were like, are the animators okay? Because it's not like when you have like everything CGI, backgrounds, characters and stuff, and the camera where you can just control wherever the camera goes. With these two movies, they're having to take note of perspective and where the camera goes, like when they're animating all this. And that's not easy to change perspective from a 2D format and such. And they definitely use more CGI here than in the first movie, from what I can recall. But it's never distracting. It looks good. It's like what the Disney early 2000s movies were trying to do, where they have these cool cartoony 2D style characters among the CGI environments and such. Bria, I'll ask you this. What did you think about following these characters and such? Because a lot of the times this movie does dabble in montages, but set to a very nice environmental soundtrack, and the fact that it does a lot of visual storytelling instead of just telling us the same thing 5 different times.
Seriously, I am increasingly hating the telling us, what's about to happen, and just, the monologue things, and this is just going to be my other has-been hotel dunk. I hate that intro to the series so fucking much with the whole backstory. Don't give me shit like that. Just let me experience things. I'm not a child. Please don't talk down to me. Thank you. But that being said, I kind of like that there are some moments in this movie where I genuinely laughed. It took itself seriously, but it wasn't serious.
Knew when to drop the seriousness for a moment.
There were a lot of characters to follow, but they were all distinct enough that you got the idea of
too is generally, since the characters are so good and well written, there's a reveal that happens later on. It's a genuinely shocking betrayal.
I think I need to rewatch it again to see how it unfolds, but I was genuinely caught off guard about who the villain was. And not in a way where it's oh my god, wait, who are you?
That heel turn was a genuine
fuck.
Oh no.
It's so good, and the action in this movie
my god, the plane, Tom Cruise's stunts and Mission Impossible was animated. That is legit what it felt like.
It's incredible. But seriously, it is, once again, I don't know what it is about the animation industry in China, but they are really, and I mean really, whooping our tails with how to do action animation here in the States. Yeah, maybe you get a Kung Fu Panda kind of thing where the action is actually pretty solid and such, but
between this and Demon Slayer making all that money and just the animation itself, again, this might be considered an over-exaggeration, but this industry, in terms of making different varieties of movies, is kind of fucking cooked right now.
You're not wrong.
No, it is, because we haven't had a whole lot to offer that's not from overseas this year. I think we were extremely lucky to get something
And
like
was
K-pop
good.
Demon Hunters that just took off and conquered the world, because it was good, because otherwise there just wasn't a whole lot there outside of Predator, Killer of Killers, and Dogman. Because again, sorry not to dunk on Elio, but Elio just floundered, and then all the other movies just floundered, and nobody liked the Smurfs movie because nobody was going to like that movie. We're not even into like October and November yet by the time we are recording this, and like the next animated film we're going to probably talk about is 100 Meters, which is a sports drama made by the source material by the same creative behind Orb, which is truly one of the best anime from last year and just of this decade so far.
Also, is it the director of Angaku Our Sound?
Yeah, it's the director of Ongaku Our Sound. And if you look on, I think, Katsuka's social media page, you can see some of 100 Meters combination of rotoscope and 2D animation, which definitely helps with something like making a movie about the 100-meter dash. But with Legend of Hei II, the action is just so good. Even though there's all these vibrant character designs, there's never a moment where I lose track of who's who. Which I think helps that the characters are so... And I don't mean this as an insult, that they're simple. They don't have overly detailed designs to them. More detail means more work. Why the hell do you think animation is where it is right now? Because people want all these cool things to like in animation, but the production pipelines are not allowing it. I remember when Mike and I looked at what was it called, Mike? Deep Sea, like back in 2023, or was that 2024?
I think it was 2023, but yeah, that is a great example of there is a lot happening in that movie.
Like I remember we talked about that movie, and Mike and I watched how they basically squashed and stretched like CGI animation in a way that even Sony wasn't doing with the Hotel Transylvania films. And we were like a little gobsmacked, like, are y'all okay over there? How the hell are you doing that? Like, you're trying to look around the computer screen, trying to see, like, where's the magic here? What are y'all doing? And that's how I feel with The Legend of Hei II. It's like, all of this setup must have been a chore to put together, but it feels like it was executed with so much grace and
yeah, and I think
talent
it comes
that
down to like the talent and like
they
just to
knew
kind
what
of
they were doing.
backtrack to my other comment. I don't think it's like there's no talented people. That there are. Like, in fact, there's like probably more Americans and other foreign citizens, you know, freelancing in like these kind of animated films, especially in anime now more than ever. The issue is the industry that it is. The problem is the industry where it's at right now. They're not going to make these kinds of movies. And I saw someone post earlier, I think it was either yesterday or early today, because Demon Slayer at the time of we're recording this had like, I think a $70 million weekend. And people looking like, oh, the R-rated movie that was animated made over $70 million. And like, oh, gee willikers, we should have invested more into that. But it's the truth. Like, for what reason or another, whether it's to kind of like justify, you know, animation being like this cheaper art form just for kids, we're not making like animation for really anyone other than families. But even that's not really true. Like, so much of animation as of late is mostly for kids. And that's the problem.
The only things that do well these days are preschool shows and adult shows. And adult shows aren't going to get that like level of quality or like commitment to production unless it just happens to be something like Scavenger's Reign or Common Side Effects, where they just so happen to slip in the right time and then get out before the studios were like, wait a minute, this thing is kind of costing us a lot of money, isn't it?
Thank God Common Side Effects is getting a second season, because that feels like something they just happened to get away with.
Well, it's just funny because, like, as we're talking about this, I know by the time this comes out, a new adult animated series will be on Netflix. And it just looks like every other show that's out there. And I know that's not on the artists or the animators or the writers' fault. It's because of how bad production pipelines are for US animation. Because you're expecting to get in, get out at a proper time, and hopefully we make back enough for an investment for a season 2. Or because of how long it was taking to make this show, we'll greenlight a season 2. Or you have so little faith in the project, Alan Gregory, and he only gets 7 episodes made.
Can't even finish a full season.
Oy. I loved The Legend of Hei II. It's been so hard this year because not only has there just been very little offerings on the US side of things, all the good, interesting, non-compilation movie releases from overseas are all coming out now instead of they could have easily come out during any time of the year. I'm sorry, you're telling me that you couldn't put
Like,
half of these
yeah, like
during
realistically,
April, May,
like the biggest thing
and
that you
August?
had in like April was like
I
the
call
Minecraft
baloney.
movie. Like there was like several opportunities to release the shit.
Because then that just forces families to go see the crap like the Minecraft movie or the Lilo and Stitch remake. It's frustrating because now nobody has seen The Legend of Hei II. I think it made like $125,000 at the box office. It's just like with its action, with its story of with a villain who wants to keep the human and spirit realms divided and in fear of one another. I don't think there's really anything I would say is bad about the movie. Like maybe a little pacing. It could have been a little faster in some parts, like pacing wise. But at the same time, there's such a zen like mood from how slow everything is.
Yeah, if anything, I think the slow parts
for sure.
this
Like,
movie
yeah, maybe could this have
enhance it
been
more than
an hour
detract.
45 minutes? Maybe. But honestly, like, I think we're just kind of grasping at straws here. This is really solid.
Like, so good, y'all. Like, so friggin' good. And I wish more people saw it. And if it is playing near y'all for some reason still, by the time this comes out, go see it. Or at the very least, wait for the digital release so you can rent it or buy it. Like, give this thing all the support, which is something that needs to happen now. We're now in that zone of we are now more ready and willing to support Japanese animation in theaters, but we're not really there yet for French or European animation and Chinese animation, even though there's still a lot of cool stuff. But, you know, we saw what happened with Neza 2 and how A24 fumbled the ball with that. So
for anyone who has not seen the first movie, it's on pretty much all of the streaming sites. It's available for free on Tubi, and if you have Crunchyroll, it's on there too.
Yeah, The Legend of Hei is readily available everywhere, and I'd recommend it. So that's really it for this episode, because next time we'll be talking about very late the summer 2025 anime season, and this time we're just going to do something a little different. We're just going to have an overall discussion about it because Mike and I had a lot of nonsense happen to us in between July and now, and by the time we're about to release this, it's going to be like the fall season, and like we're sorry, but you know, life gets in the way in so many ways.
Yeah, but I am excited to close the book on summer 2025.
Thanks for having me.
But
I'm on Instagram at LemusRoll1, where I am being better about posting pictures about my very, very cute dog, my sweet baby angel. So if you like puppies and me just doing my general weirdness, you know where to go.
And Cameron?
You can find me on Blue Sky at camsideview.biz. I have my own website called camsideview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world, called The Other Side of Animation. I am a contributor to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for media and pop culture discussions. And I have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsideview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK482. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.